All right, so you're ready to launch a business in the US, but you want to keep costs down.
Smart move.
Today, we're diving into two popular low-cost structures, sole proprietorships and LLCs.
Okay.
Ever wondered why someone would choose to be a sole proprietor when it sounds so lonely? We'll uncover the surprising benefits and risks of going it alone.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It might sound isolating, but there's a reason it's the most common structure for small businesses in the U.S.
Right.
It's incredibly simple and inexpensive to set up. We're talking a few steps and often less than $100 in fees.
So you can get up and running with minimal hassle and expense?
Yeah.
That's appealing. But what's the trade-off?
Right.
I mean, there's got to be a reason everyone isn't doing this, right?
You're right to be cautious. The biggest consideration with a sole proprietorship is the lack of liability protection. Your personal assets are intertwined with your business assets. This means if your business incurs debt or faces a lawsuit, your personal savings, house, even your car could be at risk.
Whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's all on the line. No separation between business you and personal you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a level of risk many aren't comfortable with, especially as their business grows. Think of it like this. A sole proprietorship is great for testing the waters, but maybe not for diving into the deep end. For example, let's say you're a freelance graphic designer operating as a sole proprietorship. If a client sues you for copyright infringement, your personal assets could be on the line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a sobering thought. It makes those low startup costs seem less appealing suddenly.
I know, right?
And that lack of separation can also make it harder to raise capital.
Yeah,
Investors and lenders are often wary of sole proprietorships because of the added risk.
exactly.
So if you're aiming for significant growth or need outside funding, a sole proprietorship might not be the best fit. What about LLCs? They seem to be the current darling of the business world. What makes them so attractive?
LLCs offer a really appealing balance. They combine the simplicity of a sole proprietorship with some key advantages that provide greater security and flexibility. One of the biggest draws is liability protection. Forming an LLC creates a separate legal entity,
Okay.
which means your personal assets are shielded from business debts and lawsuits. It's like having a firewall between your business and personal finances.
Okay, so it's like that peace of mind safety net.
Exactly.
But what about the flexibility you mentioned? What does that look like in practice?
Well, for starters, LLCs offer a flexible management structure. You can choose to manage the business yourself or appoint managers. And here's another perk. You get to choose how you want to be taxed.
Ooh, choices.
Yes.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this tax treatment thing.
Sure, an LLC can be taxed as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or even a corporation. This flexibility allows you to choose the most advantageous tax strategy for your specific situation. For instance, if you're running a small consulting business, you might opt to be taxed as a sole proprietorship for simplicity. But if you're launching a tech startup with plans to attract investors, you might choose to be taxed as a corporation to benefit from certain tax breaks. The key is having options.
So it's like tailoring your tax strategy to fit your business's needs.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. I also read that forming an LLC can boost your business's credibility. It's like adding a professional polish, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Having that separate legal entity status projects a more professional image, which can be a real asset when dealing with clients, suppliers, and potential investors. Think of it like building your business on a solid foundation. It instills confidence and trust.
But all of this must come at a price, right? Nothing's truly free.
True LLCs are typically more expensive to set up than sole proprietorships, and there are ongoing compliance requirements to keep in mind.
Okay, let's talk numbers. What kind of costs are we looking at here?
While formation fees for an LLC can range from around $40 to $500, depending on the state. Then you have annual report fees, which can vary wildly from $0 to $800.
Oh, wow.
This is where location becomes a major factor.
Ah, so even within the U.S., where you set up shop can dramatically affect the cost of an LLC.
Exactly. Let's take California, for example. Forming an LLC there could cost you around $940 in the first year alone, thanks to a hefty annual tax. But in a business-friendly state like Texas, an LLC might only set you back about $300 for the filing fee.
Wow, that's quite a difference. So location applies to business structures too.
Absolutely. It's crucial to understand the specific requirements and costs in your state before making a decision. We can dive deeper into state-specific costs later if you'd like.
I think that would be super helpful for our listeners. It's easy to get bogged down in all these details, right? Where does someone even begin to untangle all of this?
You're right, it can feel overwhelming. That's where professional advice becomes invaluable. A business attorney or accountant who specializes in business formation can guide you through the complexities, ensure you're meeting all the requirements, and even identify potential tax advantages you might not have considered on your own.
So it's like having a financial and legal Sherpa to guide you through this uncharted territory.
Precisely. They can help you chart the most efficient course and avoid costly missteps. This deep dive is a great starting point for understanding the basics, but it's no substitute for personalized guidance.
Great point. Knowledge is power, and understanding your options is the first step to making an informed decision. So we've got the lay of the land with sole proprietorships and LLCs. What other low-cost structures are out there for budding entrepreneurs?
Let's shift our focus to partnerships. These are fairly straightforward structures where two or more individuals agree to share in the profits or losses of a business. Think of it like a team effort where everyone brings their strengths to the table.
Okay, so partnerships are all about collaboration and shared responsibility. But just like with any team, choosing the right partners is crucial, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And just like there are different team dynamics, there are different types of partnerships, each with its pros and cons.
Interesting. So what are the main types of partnerships and what makes them unique? Okay, so we're talking partnerships, joining forces with others to build a business. What are the different ways you can structure a partnership?
The two most common types are general partnerships and limited partnerships. In a general partnership, all partners have equal responsibility for managing the business and share in its liabilities.
So it's like a true 50-50 split. Shared responsibilities, shared risks, shared rewards. What about limited partnerships? How do they differ?
Limited partnerships have both general and limited partners. General partners run the show, taking on full liability, while limited partners invest capital but have limited involvement in day-to-day operations. Their liability is capped at their investment amount.
So it's like a blend of active participants and silent investors. Limited partners get the benefit of potential returns without the burden of full responsibility and liability. That sounds appealing for certain investors.
Exactly. Limited partnerships can be a great way to attract capital without giving up control of the business. But they also require a carefully drafted partnership agreement to outline everyone's roles and responsibilities.
Makes sense. You need clear boundaries and expectations from the start. Now, we've touched on liability a bit, but I'm curious, how does liability work in general partnerships? Is it as exposed as a sole proprietorship?
That's a key question. In a general partnership, each partner faces unlimited personal liability. This means their personal assets are on the line for business debts and obligations, just like in a sole proprietorship.
Right.
Let's say you and a partner open a bakery as a general partnership. If the business goes bankrupt, creditors can come after your personal assets, even if your partner was primarily responsible for the financial mismanagement.
Ouch. That sounds like a risky proposition.
Mhm.
It seems like choosing your partners wisely is absolutely crucial in this structure.
You hit the nail on the head. Trust and shared values are paramount in a general partnership. Now, what about taxes? How are partnerships taxed?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Is it similar to sole proprietorships?
Yes, partnerships like sole proprietorships are considered pass-through entities. This means the business itself doesn't pay taxes on its profits. Instead, the profits and losses are passed through to the individual partners who report them on their personal income tax returns.
Okay, so each partner pays taxes on their share of the profits, regardless of whether they actually receive that money as a distribution. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Simple structures often come with this pass-through taxation.
You're catching on. It's a common theme with structures that prioritize simplicity and minimal setup costs.
So we've got partnerships, a team effort, with options for varying levels of responsibility and liability. But what if someone wants more robust liability protection and envisions a more complex business structure? What then?
If those are your priorities, a corporation might be the way to go, even though it sounds intimidating and maybe not so low cost. But let's break down why some choose to incorporate, even starting small.
Okay, so corporations, the big leagues of business. We're talking Fortune 500 companies, boardrooms, the whole 9 yards. Not exactly what springs to mind when we're talking budget-conscious entrepreneurs.
I hear you. And you're right, corporations can be complex and expensive to set up and maintain. But there are different types of corporations, and some might be more accessible than you think, especially when considering future growth and liability.
All right, I'm intrigued. Tell us more about these different flavors of corporations and how they might appeal to smaller businesses.
The two most common are C corporations and S corporations. C corporations are what typically come to mind when we hear the word corporation. They are separate legal entities that can own assets enter into contracts, sue and be sued, and pay taxes independently of their owners, the shareholders.
So, C corporations offer that ironclad separation between the business and its owners, maximum liability protection, but potentially higher costs and complexity, right?
Exactly. That's the trade-off. C corporations are subject to what's called double taxation, which can be a significant drawback.
Mhm.
The corporation itself pays taxes on its profits, and then the shareholders pay taxes again on any dividends they receive. It's like getting taxed twice on the same income.
Yikes. That does sound painful for the wallet. What about S corporations? How do they differ?
S corporations provide a way to avoid that double taxation issue. They offer the same liability protection as C corporations, but are taxed like partnerships as pass-through entities.
So the profits and losses flow through to the shareholders' personal income tax returns, and they avoid that double whammy of taxes.
You got it. This can be a significant tax advantage, especially for smaller businesses. But there's a catch. S corporations have stricter eligibility requirements than C corporations.
So there are trade-offs with each type of corporation. What are some of the specific requirements for S corporations?
For example, there are limits on the number and type of shareholders they can have, and they can't be owned by other corporations or partnerships. And while they avoid double taxation, they tend to be more expensive to set up and maintain than partnerships or sole proprietorships.
So it sounds like S corporations offer a sweet spot for some businesses. The liability protection of a corporation with the tax advantages of a partnership. But those eligibility requirements could be a deal breaker for some.
It's all about finding the right fit. No single structure is perfect for every business. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages, and choosing wisely depends on your specific circumstances, risk tolerance, and long-term goals. Think of it like choosing the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb, would you?
That's a great analogy. It's about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each option and choosing the one that best aligns with your vision and needs. All right, we've explored a whole range of business structures, from the straightforward sole proprietorship to the more complex world of corporations.
Yeah,
It's a lot to take in.
it really is.
Yeah.
But having this knowledge is empowering. It allows you to make informed decisions that set your business up for success.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's crystallize what we've learned into some key takeaways for our listeners. What are the most important things you want them to remember as they embark on their entrepreneurial journeys?
First and foremost, remember that choosing a business structure is not a one-size-fits-all decision. It's about finding the structure that best aligns with your specific business goals, risk tolerance, and financial situation.
Right. It's like choosing the right pair of shoes. You wouldn't wear hiking boots to a formal event, would you?
Precisely. Consider factors like the level of liability protection you need, your plans for growth, and potential need for outside investment, and the tax implications of each structure. And don't forget the less tangible aspects like your comfort level with complexity and your desired level of control over the business. Do you thrive in a collaborative environment, or do you prefer to be the captain of your own ship? These are all important considerations.
It's about finding the structure that feels right for you in your vision. Now let's revisit those two popular low-cost options we discussed earlier, sole proprietorships and LLCs. They seem to be the go-to choices for many new business owners.
They are, and for good reason. Both offer a relatively simple and inexpensive way to get started, but it's crucial to understand the trade-offs involved. Sole proprietorships offer maximum simplicity and minimal setup costs. But remember, they leave you personally liable for business debts and obligations.
Right. No separation between business you and personal you. It's a risk many are willing to take, especially in the early stages. But as your business grows and the stakes get higher, that lack of liability protection can become a major concern.
Absolutely. And that's where LLCs come in. They provide that much-needed liability shield separating your personal assets from the business. Think of it like building a protective barrier around your personal finances. LLCs also offer flexibility in terms of management structure and tax treatment, which can be a real advantage as your business evolves.
But that added protection and flexibility come at a cost, right?
True LLCs generally have higher setup and ongoing compliance costs compared to sole proprietorships. And remember, those costs can vary significantly from state to state. So it's essential to factor location into your decision-making process.
Right. Remember those hefty annual fees we discussed in California? Location can have a real impact on your bottom line.
Absolutely. And this is where seeking professional advice becomes invaluable. A qualified business attorney or accountant can help you navigate the intricacies of your state's regulations, ensure you're meeting all the legal obligations, and identify potential tax advantages you might have overlooked.
It's like having a trusted advisor in your corner, someone who can guide you through the complexities and help you make informed decisions.
Exactly. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. Choosing a business structure is about more than just legalities and finances. It's about shaping the identity and trajectory of your venture.
It's about laying a solid foundation for growth, protecting your interests, and allowing your business to thrive. Precisely. So as you embark on this exciting journey, choose wisely, seek expert guidance when needed, and never stop learning. And most importantly, remember to enjoy the ride. Building a business is challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
We've reached the summit of our deep dive into low-cost business structures, and I hope you're feeling energized and equipped to tackle this next chapter in your entrepreneurial journey. We're here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, deep divers, happy exploring.